I already know the two of the four on the panel do not like this story. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you which two it is. It's two and a possible. I got two and a possible who are going to hate this story. Okay. The Cassville School District announced that under their new policy, school district employees will be allowed to punish students by paddling them, which is described as the last resort. Parents will be able to opt in or opt out of the new policy. What are your thoughts about this Missouri school district being able to paddle students, bringing it back to the old school? Dominique.
I guess we're going back to the old days of beating our children, women having no choice over their bodies, and all of the worst things of the old America. No, no, and no. You don't get to spank, paddle, or put your hands on my child in any way. That is old school parenting. And I get a lot of pushback on this, but if you look at the evidence, if you look at the data, it shows that spanking children, paddling them, beating them, or whatever you want to call it, does not make for more obedient or better life outcomes with children. What it does is it teaches them is that violence is a solution. That's not what we want. And we know this justice will be meted out disproportionately to Black students. So that's a loud no from me.
Yeah. I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Alicia.
Was there anybody on here on this panel that was not spanked? And we are all just fine.
Well, hold on. I'm surprised. Dominique, you were spanked as a child?
My mom is Italian. She'll chase you down and beat you like you stole something. Yes, I was spanked. That doesn't mean I think it's a good idea. And by the way, I always say this on my radio show, if we updated our parenting skills as often as we update our phones, we'd be a lot better off as a world and a nation.
I'm gonna give you a little dance there right for that one.
Well, I feel like, I mean, I just feel like, I understand the whole not teaching violence and all that stuff, but Black folks was just as poor back then, and we didn't have mass shooters or smash and grabs. So
yeah, but our parenting was based on what we learned through our enslavement, and it's time to update because last time I checked, the Emancipation Proclamation was a thing.
But I think, Dominique, we may have course corrected too far to the other side because now it's anarchy. We've got to find a middle ground.
We're still teaching violence. That's why we have anarchy. We teach it in our popular culture. We teach it in our war methodology that we use in our public policy. No, we haven't course corrected at all away from violence.
But what Dominique is suggesting, though, Alicia, you said that, this spankings, during the time that spanking was a popular thing, that there were no mass shootings and the kind of violence that's happening now. So then the question becomes, based on what Dominique said, is this why there is violence today? Is this why we are having more violent outbursts today? Because spankings, is this the result of the spankings?
Partly.
I don't think so. I don't think so. What I'm saying today is the group that wasn't spanked.
Really? Okay. All those people in the White House that are spending more and more money and swelling up our military budget who would rather use violence as a solution to everything. All those kids fighting in the streets, all those adults fighting in the streets and on airplanes, they weren't spanked. I doubt that. I really doubt that, Alicia.
Yeah, but this isn't about parental spanking. This is about a school district being able to spank your child while they're at school. And, I think this is a country that has a lot of cultural differences, right? When you look at the states that still allow corporal punishment, there's 19 of them still on the books. It is very much a Southern United States thing. And I think what should cause some alarm, even though the school district that we're talking about is predominantly a white school district, the majority of the school districts that allows corporal punishment oversee African-American populations. And so we've got to take a more detailed look at this to understand what type of discipline is being meted out to African-American students, particularly African-American males. Throughout this country, we've had conversations about how suspensions and expulsions are unjustly leveled on Black students, particularly Black males, over other students. And I think corporal punishment would fall in that same category. So that's something we should all keep an eye on.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, I was spanked by everybody. Everybody at the school, at the house, at the grandmama's house, at the great grandmama's house. I have to agree, though. I don't think I'm for it today. Dr. Oleka?
I always love these segments when I get to hear just a little bit of old-fashioned conservatism come out of places where you don't expect it. Alicia out here advocating for everybody getting spanked. Tell you what, I got spanked as a kid too. My parents obviously are Nigerian, more Nigerian than the shirt on your back there, Dominique. And they would spank me with anything they could find, a switch, a shoe, something they just pull out of the kitchen, a hand, whatever they could. I have no problem with spanking from parents as long as it is a last resort. There is a clear demonstration of love miles and miles before that happens. But as Ed pointed out, we're talking about schools. The way that I read this is that it is an opt-in policy.
Right.
Meaning you as a parent have to decide, I trust this teacher, I trust all the teachers, every person in that building, however the policy is designed, to spank my child in the same manner that I would at home. If you decide to do that as a parent, then you should be willing to accept whatever consequences come with that. I would not do that with my children. Nobody's going to put their hands on my child, my two daughters, aside from me and my wife, and then also my mother, who would just spank me, again, probably if I wouldn't let her do that. But my point is, you can't have school districts do this unless parents opt in. It seems like parents are opting in this. So if that's the case, then it's up to them.
I remember way back in my day, the parents could opt out. Like it was automatic that you could be paddled. But if you didn't want your child to be paddled, you could say, hey, that's not what I want to happen, and that child would not get paddled. So I think
once it becomes policy, if a student paddles your child, and they're more likely to do so if your child is a Black boy, which is
you mean a teacher? Yeah, a teacher.
A teacher, yeah, then they're not going to get in trouble. I mean, yeah, you opted out. Whoops. I mean, now it's the culture of the school.
Yeah. So I think, Alicia, you lose this battle 4-1.
Well,
okay,
let me just say one more thing. I'm not saying that necessarily people out in the street should just be able to show up and beat the heck out your child. What I think should happen is if the child is doing something wrong, what should happen is the parent should be able to come in, and the parent should be able to parent however they see fit. What's happening nowadays is parents are being shamed if they spank their child, and I don't think that's right.
That's true. That's true. Parents are being shamed.